Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 5 of 5-8 Takes. And we have a doozy for you. After game 4 of the NBA Finals, which was an absolute miracle from the New York Knicks, we got a lot to talk about. So, Garrett, I'm going to throw it over to you to start off. What are your first reactions?
A lot is going through my head right now. I don't even know what we just watched. I don't even know how to process it. The largest comeback in NBA history, the Knicks were down 29 points. They were down 20 points late in the third quarter. They were down 15 for a good chunk of the fourth quarter, and somehow they pulled it off. This is like the fourth or fifth time in the last couple of playoffs. You remember those two huge playoff comebacks they had against the Celtics last year? We just saw them do it last series against the Cavs. For whatever reason, you just can't put this team away, and I thought the Spurs had finally done enough, but even 29 points wasn't good enough, and this is going to go down as one of the greatest, not only comebacks, but greatest games in NBA Finals history. And for those of us that were, lucky enough to be able to watch it, it was just insane. MSG, the Spurs had it silent in the first half. There was no energy in that building. And by the time the game had ended, they were trying to pry fans to leave the arena 30 minutes after the game had ended. It was like a party in there. So those are just my initial reactions. I'll let you get going a little bit, and then we can talk about more of the X's and O's in the game itself.
Yeah, before we dive into all the X's and O's, like you were saying, I do want to first acknowledge the fact that this Tibbs to Mike Brown kind of changeup really did work out for the Knicks because I think in terms of the X's and O's and the depth, they knew that Mike Brown was going to be the good move for them. But in terms of the team energy and the chemistry and just the wherewithal to keep going, a lot of people thought that there may be a little dip when Mike Brown took over. And this team's effort has not dipped at all. It has probably only grown since he's been there. You can seriously never count them out. I think it's been amazing to watch. We've seen it multiple times. Whatever makes sense doesn't for the New York Knicks, and they continue to do the impossible and improbable. So those are my first reactions, but I'll let you go into the X's and O's and who's to take blame and who's kind of at fault here on the Spurs side, and then who we should glorify on the Knicks side. So, but it was a fun one.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say something about the Tibbs situation. That was a really bold decision by the Knicks, who were in the conference finals last year against the Pacers, the farthest they've made it in since 1999. And then, the Knicks, led by the GM or but led by the owner, and then the GM and the rest of the front office made the decision to make the switch from Tibbs to Mike Brown. I do think, and we've seen it in other places as well, that Mike Thibodeau, as a head coach, is going to raise the floor of pretty much every team he goes to. I also think he might limit the ceiling a little bit. We saw it with Chicago, we saw it in Minnesota, and we saw it in New York, where these teams were always competitive. They played super hard, but they were never able to get to that NBA Finals stage. And I think the way he coaches sometimes limits them offensively, whereas Mike Brown came in, he knew that the Knicks had already developed their identity on defense, and he knew they already had great defensive players, so he spent a lot of his energy into developing the offense and the new offensive system that has really blossomed in these playoffs. So a lot of credit goes out to him, and I would say in most organizations it was a gutsy call to let go of Thibodeau, but for whatever reason, the Knicks just felt like this was their time and they had to, and it's ended up working out. But now getting to the actual game, I'll say this. The Knicks it was an amazing comeback, 29 points. They had countless key shots. OG Anunoby was 5 for 5 from three. We'll get more to him in a little bit. But the Spurs lost this game way more, in my opinion, than the Knicks won this game. And I'll let you talk now because I want to hear what you think about that, whether you agree or disagree. But it was an improbable comeback by the Knicks. It was amazing, but the blame needs to go to the Spurs, and it needs to go on Mitch Johnson, De'Aaron Fox before we need to be praising the Knicks.
100%. Same with the Cavs blowout. We figured we threw all the blame on the James Hardens of the world, the Kenny Atkinsons of the world. There are a few guys that are capable of this sell job, and I don't think anyone sticks out more than De'Aaron Fox. What he did to the city of San Antonio was complete larceny. He completely stole any chance of getting a championship from that city, from that fan base, and from some of his teammates that honestly deserve it. He made countless mistakes going to that fourth quarter, and it almost seemed like you had to take him off the court. But he's supposed to be that calm under the storm. He's supposed to be the guy that they can lean on when they don't know what to do, as he is their unk, Now he's not very old, but the players refer to him as Unk since they have such a young team. And he was anything but that. Very far cry from that. And I do want to put most of the blame on De'Aaron Fox. However, we cannot skip out on Victor Wembanyama. This man was a monster, a man among boys in the first, we'll say, 2.5 quarters. And then after he got that flagrant foul on Karl-Anthony Towns when he elbowed him to the face, he was just a non-factor. I actually have his stats here. Before the flagrant foul, he shot 7 of 13 from the field. And then afterwards, he was 2 of 12. Just an astonishing drop-off. And as well as this, in the fourth quarter, just 4 points from your superstar. The guy that a lot of people say is the best in the world. 4 points in a must-win fourth quarter where you're up, 20 points going into the fourth, shooting 1 of 4 from the field. So it's not like he was very engaged in the offense. Not to mention the 2 massive missed free throws, which probably could have been the dagger. So now De'Aaron Fox, he's definitely a big blame, but we can't just skip out on the franchise guy, the superstar, the guy that a lot of people say is the best in the league. I know he's young, and you can kind of see his youth taking over in this finals because everything that was working for him, he went away from. Getting inside the paint, no one could stop him. The amount of alley-oops he threw and he just got to the free throw line, dunked it. In the fourth quarter, it was vanished. He was shooting middies. He was shooting pull-up threes. Like, get your butt in the post and get to a post move. But I digress. I'll let you go ahead and take a stab at it.
Yeah, I'm actually going to throw a lot of the blame on the Spurs head coach and Mitch Johnson, somebody who I feel like has kind of
Okay.
been ducking a lot of the blame in this comeback, and a lot of it's just going on to De'Aaron Fox because he was the guy out there, he was the guy that we saw. But first of all, I get that De'Aaron Fox was the clutch player of the year. That doesn't mean that he just gets countless opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to make a play. He obviously didn't have it in that fourth quarter. Yeah, maybe he made 1 or 2 shots, but that's because his usage percentage was like through the roof. I mean, they weren't doing anything, and that's where I have to put the blame on Mitch Johnson. Go back and rewatch. I went yesterday and rewatched the Spurs possession in the fourth quarter. They were horrific. They weren't doing anything. They were coming down in the third quarter. They were coming down because they were hot in the first half. That's the scariest thing about building a big lead in the first half when you get hot from three is you think coming out of the locker room is just going to carry over, and it didn't. You saw them come down. You had Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Julian Champagnie just taking one pass threes, and yeah, they were making them in the first half, but they were missing them in the second half, and that's the biggest reason why the Knicks were able to come back. They were taking these terrible possessions, and when they didn't go quick and take a one pass jack, De'Aaron Fox was just pounding the ball for 15 seconds. They would set one high ball screen and try to get a shot off that. If you watch the first half, what was making their offense work, yeah, they were still getting to these ball screens actions and hitting, maybe more one pass threes, but they were running in transition. These threes were open. They were rhythm threes, and the ball was clicking. They were swinging it from side to side of the court. In the second half, they were just putting 2 guys in the corner, somebody on like an extended wing, and just running a high ball screen. And there was no movement. It was all stagnant. And I don't know what Mitch Johnson was thinking that they were just going to come out of the second half and shoot as good as they did in the first half, and then he wouldn't have to run anything because they literally weren't running anything. And I agree with you. Wemby needs to be more aggressive, but he also needs to get the ball, and they need to run something for him. You can't just expect him to set a high ball screen and get a roll and just be wide open on a lob. The Knicks are obviously going to focus all their attention on him. And
Yeah.
to me, if you ever come back, lose a 20 to 30 point deficit, you better be out of timeouts by the time that deficit is erased. I don't care that the end of the game comes and you now have a timeout to advance the ball. Yeah, it worked out in this situation. If I'm Mitch Johnson, the Knicks score 4 or 5 points or more, I'm burning a timeout every single time. You need to take the energy and you need to deflate the crowd at MSG, and they didn't do that. And that's how the Knicks got on a 13-0 run, capped by that Josh Hart three in the third quarter to get it within striking distance. And then the fourth quarter, they went on another run. But you just need to be timeout, bang, timeout, bang. It gives Wemby more rest. It breaks the rhythm up of the Knicks. And the Spurs had no rhythm, so it's not like he's ruining their rhythm at all because I don't even know what they were doing on offense. But you need to do whatever you can to keep that lead. If you run out of timeouts, so be it. But you need to coach the game as if you just need to keep this lead, and then with 3 or 4 minutes left, then you're up by 15 or 20. Then you can start to coast. But I mean, the Spurs scored 30 points in the second half. It wasn't because the Knicks offense was this amazing onslaught where they were throwing everything in. Yes, they made some really tough shots towards the end of the game, but they scored 107 points. The Spurs scored 32 in the second half and they win the game. And so I'll let you talk a little bit more. I do want to touch on, after you're done, the Cat and Wemby situation and then the end of the game, which was just bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. If you actually look into it, this was the biggest disparity in an NBA Finals game of all time when it comes to first half performance and second half. From the Spurs, it was almost a 40-point drop off. And yeah, you said it. They shot about 60% from the 3-point line in the first half, which is just out of this world. They're about a middle of the field 3-point team. They're not horrific from a 3-point line, but it's also not their game if you look at the regular season stats.
Yeah, and
So to
if
think
I
that
could
they're
just
going to,
if I could just add something really quick, the Knicks fans might say, "Oh, they shot," and NBA fans in general might say they shot this uncharacteristic number. The Knicks defense in the first half was terrible. A lot of these threes were
yes,
wide open. Like Harper and Fox had a couple tough ones, but a lot of these were like somebody would get in the paint and just kick it out, and a dude's just stepping in for three.
yes. However, Fox was also hitting some nice step backs, which Fox in his recent years hasn't been the best 3-point and most reliable 3-point shooter ever. So Fox did have a very, very good first half, which probably led Mitch Johnson to believe like in him a little bit more. Also, it's hard to say money is involved, but when you're giving a guy a max contract, he's being paid more than anyone on your team. It's hard not to play him in the fourth quarter when this is exactly what you got him for. Because if you don't play him, and then they lose, then all the blame's on Mitch Johnson. Right now, he's flying under the radar. But if you took him out and they still lost, he would be up in the sky. Everyone would be looking at him. And yeah, I mean, it's two tales of a story. Mitch Johnson was scared. He got scared in the moment. He didn't make any adjustments at all. Meanwhile, Mike Brown, I don't know if you noticed this, he played Jose Alvarado and Jalen Brunson in a very big stretch, including down at the very end of the game together in the fourth quarter, which he didn't do at all in the regular season or in the playoffs so far, having that two small guard lineup. And if you look at Jose Alvarado's stat sheet, it definitely isn't eye popping. Like he didn't do anything that amazing. But clearly Mike Brown saw something, whether it was the energy on the defensive end, whether it was like the little plays he made moving the ball around, and he kept him in. He trusted him, someone that doesn't really get much play time in the fourth usually in these big games, and kept him the whole way down. And he really rallied behind him and Jalen Brunson and obviously OG Anunoby, which we need to get into, and made the comeback. So one coach was very stagnant. He did what he always did. And the other coach was just out there trying things. Something worked. He stuck to it, and it led to the greatest comeback of all time in finals history. And I will say, you mentioned the very last play with the timeouts. I did love how Carlton Towns, I don't know if you noticed this, but before they threw in the ball, he was walking over to defend
Yeah.
and he looked at the Knicks fans. He said, "Hey, come a little closer." He wanted the Knicks fans to pull into Dylan Harper, and he actually did get a piece of that last pass. It looked like an abysmal pass, but he did get a touch of that, which is why it was so short. But yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, we were ranting about this with Kenny Atkinson. Take a timeout. I understand you want one at the end of the game, but if you're up by 29 points, you should never have the thought of, "Oh, I'm going to need one if it's a tie game at the end of the game." Why would it ever be a tie
Terrible.
game?
It's a terrible mindset.
29 points. Why is it a tie game at the end of the game? You're up 29. Take some of the momentum out. Momentum is the strongest thing in sports, especially when you're in MSG. Also, if you take a timeout, I mean, like you said, they were running no sets. You take timeouts, you get ATOs going, you get some good sets instead of just chucking up threes and including Wemby. Like, get him the ball. It's harder when your star player isn't as much of a ball handler. Obviously, Wemby has incredible skill, but he has incredible skill for his size. He's not going to take the ball up 50 feet and make a move around a guy and just drive to the rim. So it's hard. You need to run plays for him. You need to run sets for your guy. So I thought it was terrible from Mitch Johnson. I love that you pointed that out.
Yeah, it's like we kind of said it with the Cavs. Like at some point, you're close enough where if you just take shot clock violations, you might have a better chance at winning.
Yeah, no,
Like
seriously.
it's in the Cavs especially because that was 22 with 7.5 minutes left. I don't think the Spurs ever got quite to that point, but like these are just a couple bad turnovers and just the quick shots. I mean, you're just giving the Knicks the ball right back. You're using less than 5 seconds on offense. A couple things that you talked about. Jalen Brunson and Jose Alvarado have played 0 minutes together in the playoffs before a couple of nights ago. Zero
Look
minutes
at that.
together. They had literally never stepped on the court together, and yet they were the closing lineup for what the last 9-10 minutes of that game. And the other
Yes,
thing
I didn't
that,
know it was zero. That's amazing.
yeah, you said that they're paying Fox, and I know he's the supermax, and yes, he was the clutch player of the year a few years ago. He is like the veteran they brought in for moments like this, but you have a guy in Dylan Harper who had 21 points, 8 of 12 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. His plus minus was plus 12. The next highest Spur, who was it Carter Bryant with a plus 6. I don't know why he only played 5 minutes. I mean, maybe throw him in, call a timeout, use him for a couple possessions. High energy guy when you're blowing a 29-point lead doesn't sound like the worst thing ever. I know his finals minutes haven't been great, but he played good the other night. And the few minutes he got, he hit a three. He made another basket. You saw him run the lane, like he was running in transition. He was making things happen for the Spurs when he was in, and he just didn't go back in. But at some point, the ball needs to go in Dylan Harper's hands. I'm starting to realize that I think Dylan Harper is the second best player on the Spurs, and he's going to be moving forward. He needed the ball in his hands at the end of the game. I don't want to hear, oh, he's only 20 years old. Does he look like he's playing like a 20-year-old? No. And De'Aaron Fox obviously didn't have it. He wasn't making good decisions, so give the ball to Dylan Harper. And he was playing really good. Like, he was outplaying Fox. He was the second best player in this game for the Spurs besides Wembanyama. So to me, that was just, I mean, so frustrating that as an NBA fan wanting to see this series go the distance, and I'm not saying it can't, but it really hurts their chances. And then we have to talk about OG Anunoby for the Knicks and how good he's been in these finals. I know we did our rankings the other day. Maybe I disrespected him a little bit, saying he was the fifth best player in these finals, but 33 points, coming off 28 the other night, 5 of 5 from 3 in the fourth quarter. I believe he was like 7 of 9 from the field. I mean, we'll talk about the chase down block, which I was thinking about this the other day, and yes, LeBron's block was in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and it was, a more
Whoa.
legit block. But also, there is a camera angle, I don't know if you saw it, of OG Anunoby, and he's like hitting De'Aaron Fox's like wrist, and it's not even like his wrist, it's like his forearm. He might have gotten ball first, but if you look at that picture, it does look like a clear and obvious foul. I'm not going to sit here and like make up an excuse because what is De'Aaron Fox doing? Pull the ball out in the first place. I mean, you shouldn't even be taking that layup. Like, just pull the ball out, make 2 free throws. It's a 3-point game. You make it, it's still a 3-point game. It's not like you push it to a 2-possession game. It just wasn't worth it. And well, I was going to compare it to the LeBron block. The LeBron block was a better block, don't get me wrong, but I think the stakes of this one were much higher because it's game 4 versus game 7, sure, but the game
Whoa.
was tied. When LeBron blocked that ball, the game was tied with over a minute and a half left.
Game
Everybody's acting.
7.
Yeah, it was game 7, but this might as well be like this is going to be the reason the Knicks win the finals because of this OG block. I'm not calling it better than LeBron's, but
If they lost,
you're down by 1 point with 10 seconds left. The Warriors, if Iguodala makes that layup, the Warriors are up 2 with over a minute and a half left. If De'Aaron Fox makes that layup, the chances of the Spurs winning that game are a lot higher than the chances of the Warriors beating the Cavs when LeBron blocked that shot. The block itself was way better in LeBron's case, and I still think it means more because it was game 7. But I was a little disappointed in Mike Breen, who, for whatever reason, shouldn't even be on these finals because he's like the Knicks home announcer for half the year, or at least he used to be. I don't know why he's calling these finals, but he was like, oh, it's blocked by Anunoby. There was like 8 seconds left, down by 1, and he just makes an amazing block to give you the ball back, and he didn't even sound that excited. I was like, am I watching this correctly? Like, that was insane.
yeah. First of all, the LeBron chase down block, that's complete asinine. I mean, sure, you can say the Spurs had a better chance of winning this game, but even if the Spurs win this game, the Knicks still have a chance of winning the series. They still have it's only 2-2.
That's why I give
Whereas in
LeBron
LeBron's case, it's game 7. You automatically lose. I mean, it's game 7, and also you're going up against at that time who was the best basketball team of all time until obviously they added Kevin Durant and then made a new best basketball team of all time.
Yeah,
but whatever on that end.
I just feel like as an NBA community, sometimes we act like the Cavs were up 1 and Iguodala's layup was like a buzzer beater to win the game, and it wasn't. And I don't want to take away from LeBron's block, but like that didn't decide the game. Like there was a lot more possessions that could have flipped the thing. Where in this case, I think it had a much more direct correlation. But LeBron's block was better, and it's more iconic than OG's block ever will be, and partly because maybe OG slapped him on the forearm anyway.
I will say it did decide the game a little bit, LeBron's block, because if you watch that game, neither team could score. I think it was 89-89 when he blocked him, and they were just at a stalemate. They were going back and forth, just running up the court, and neither team could score.
It was brick after brick.
Yes, for a few minutes. So even if the Warriors see one fall, I mean, that changes everything, and I do believe right after the block, the Cavs did score the next bucket. So whatever, but that's not what we're talking about right now. OG Anunoby, perfect game from him. He's balled out this entire playoffs. He's been the guy. He's done all the intangibles for this Knicks team. He does, like I said the other day, he does everything you can ask for him and more. So OG deserves all the flowers in the world. He's currently, for all the betting fans out there, he's at a plus 210 to win the Finals MVP. I do think those odds should be lower. However, you got Batman and Jalen Brunson over there on the other side. So, who also had a very good game last night. I will say 36 points from him, shooting just below 50% from the field. Wow, he's also getting all of the defensive minds from the Spurs. They're throwing everything at Jalen Brunson. He's made some incredible circus shots after another, and he's the one that kept him in striking range. He also did perform in the fourth quarter well, but in that first half, he was the only one that could score, only one getting buckets for the Knicks. So Jalen Brunson will probably be your Finals MVP if, in my case, win the next one, because I do believe they're going to win. I think the Spurs may take the next one just for some pride, and also the Knicks may just want to win it at MSG. However, it's hard to say that because we talked about this in the Cavs series. The Knicks in closeout games this year have been just nothing but phenomenal. They're probably around, I don't have the stat off the top of my head, but I'd guess they're probably around plus 60 in closeout games, since they had two where they won 40, that means they have to be over plus 60. They're probably around plus 100 closeout games, which is unbelievable in itself. So this next game is going to be very interesting. But OG Anunoby, he should be up there for Finals MVP just because it's a guy stepping up, kind of out Andre Iguodala. He obviously didn't play the best, and it was obviously a stolen job. But OG Anunoby's playing way light years better than Andre Iguodala was. And it's when you're looking, Jalen Brunson, yeah, he's putting up 30 a game, but you could argue he's actually not doing it as efficiently, however it is against the Spurs. But it's what you expect. That's what you expect from Jalen Brunson. It's the Brunson we've come to know and love. Where OG Anunoby, he's kind of taking that next step for the Knicks because they need someone to step up, and he's done it. So I do think he should be getting a little more credit and a little more eyes on that Finals MVP trophy if they do win. So I'll hand it off to you and see what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you score 33 points on 15 shots, when your points more than double your shots, that's a great night. And
Yes.
you talked about it with Brunson a little bit. His efficiency's been down, but that's expected because of these Spurs defenders. I mean, look at Shea's the prime example. 12 for 25 is not a bad shooting night at all against these Spurs defenders. 3 of
And an
7 from 3.
undersized guard.
He got to the line 11 times. But OG Anunoby, I was looking at the plus minus, and I'm like, wait, what? He was -1, and I'm looking at Cat plus 17, Josh Hart plus 11, Brunson plus 11, and I'm like, okay, well, that's probably because OG was available to play in the first half, unlike Cat, who was just out there doing whatever. I mean, he just completely sold his case for Finals MVP the last couple of games. But I almost think the plus minus is more of a testament to OG because he played 40 minutes. He was out there keeping them in the game and doing what he could. Obviously, yeah, he played really good down the stretch as well, but he was out there most of the game doing his part. And, maybe that hamstring strain that he had, at the end of the second round series coming, he was questionable for game 1 against the Cavs. Maybe that hamstring is feeling better because this has looked like a different OG Anunoby the past few games. He's been really good, and I know I personally want to see him win Finals MVP because of how good he's been. They're not going to do that. They're going to give it to Brunson unless in the closeout game Anunoby has 40 and Brunson has 10. But, I mean, it's under serious consideration. He's definitely passed Cat for second on the Knicks in terms of favorite, in terms of the odds. And I do think that he has a legit shot to win with a good game or two. I think they kind of wanted to give it to Brunson, and Brunson is still the best player on the Knicks. I mean, for as bad as he's been shooting the ball, he's still been really clutch. He gave him clutch buckets in game 1 and game 2. He gave him countless clutch buckets a couple of nights ago to, prompt this improbable comeback. And we talked about OG's block, but how about the tip-in? I mean, that was one of the greatest acts of athleticism I've ever seen. I mean, Brunson gets the ball, he just takes a 30-footer over Wemby. They go to double him, so there's nobody there to block out OG. And you see there's 3 Spurs defenders around the rim, all jumping up, assuming they're going to have the rebound. And all of a sudden, OG just comes flying in like Superman and just tips the ball. And that's a hard tip-in to do at full speed up in the air like that. It's not like he just tapped it. He had to guide the ball a little bit. I mean, to come off the chase down block and then right out of a timeout, that's what he does. That was an amazing tip-in. if he does that 10 times, I think he's making that possibly less than 50%. I mean, that's really hard to do and
Definitely less.
crazy
Definitely
act of
less.
athleticism from him. And then just to continue to talk about the end of the game, Stephon Castle was wide open in the last play of the game. If Dylan Harper doesn't get that pass tipped, I truly believe that it's a lob and Stephon Castle's catching it and laying it in because he still had over a second. I mean, Josh Hart got caught up on that screen. We want to say that Mitch Johnson sucked, and he did in that game, but he did draw up a play that got a good look to win it. And I don't care that Cat's tall and stuff. You can't get that pass tipped if you're Dylan Harper. Throw it higher. Like you have to give him a legit shot to get. You didn't even get a shot up. Instead, you had Castle stumbling trying to recover to where the ball was and didn't even get a shot up. Throw it high, and if Josh Hart recovers, he does. But that was a play where if Cat doesn't tip that ball, I think we're gonna have a 2-2 series and Stephon Castle laying it in with the buzzer.
Oh yeah, this series it's 3-1, but by no means is it really a 3-1 series. Game three, game two, sorry, Victor Wembanyama passing it to Stephon Castle with about 9 seconds left and turning the ball over, and then obviously this game where every single thing had to go the Knicks' way for them to pull it out. So while it's 3-1, this is not a usual 3-1 series. However, the one argument you could make about OG and really having a serious Finals MVP case is the moments. When it comes to a finals run, it's all about the moments. Obviously, you look at the averages, and that's huge. And Jalen Brunson has had so many moments, but there's not, I can't imagine, unless we get another miracle, there's going to be another moment that will, like, eclipse OG Anunoby with the chase down block going straight into the tip. So that's going to be the biggest moment of the finals, which may push him over the edge. We're going to have to see. However, a couple of things. I want to go play by play, really breaking down what De'Aaron Fox decided to do that game because every move he made was the wrong one. For instance, we can just skip to like the last minute because we'll just ignore the full fourth quarter that he had, which he was absolutely horrendous in turnover after turnover, just chucking up terrible looks. But going play by play, it was horrendous. He obviously had the steal, which was a great hustle play, but then he's laying it up for God knows what reason, which OG Anunoby blocked, obviously. And there's also the foul, the take foul on Jose
Yeah.
Alvarado. You didn't really notice it because, yes, in that moment, the teams take their foul. However, Jose Alvarado was getting ready to go take a backcourt violation before he fouled him. There would have 100% been a backcourt violation if he did not foul him. Yes, there would have. Momentum was taking him straight there, and he turned before the foul happened. And then there was another case. Oh, yeah, OG Anunoby. He tipped the ball in. I understand the double you're coming for Jalen Brunson because you think that that's really the last good look they're going to get of the game. But who was OG Anunoby's guy on that tip in? De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox was the one guarding OG. He did not box him out. Now, sure, you can say the double team was maybe warranted because you're thinking, okay, that's really the last look they're going to get because, like Garrett said, that was a heroic Superman play, and I don't think he's going to make that very often. However, it shouldn't even be a play that he has a chance to get off. But that is very nitpicking, but unbelievable play from OG Anunoby. Unbelievable game. And Garrett, I'll let you end with any last thoughts. It seemed like you disagreed with one of my points there.
Yeah, actually,
Albeit it may have not been the most important thing, but it did look like there was disagreement on your face.
I disagreed with a couple of things you said. First of all, that was Fox was right to go double Brunson. Somebody else has to pick up his guy and box him out.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't
I just wanted to point it out.
you can't throw that one on De'Aaron Fox. And I disagree with the fact that Jose Araujo was going to go backcourt because both of his feet came over, but he was actually dribbling the ball in a way where he's both of his feet came over the front court, but then he kept pounding it in the backcourt and he was actually headed back that direction. And you have to establish all three parts in the front court. And I don't think he was ever planning on doing that. I actually think it was a smart play. Not that I don't know what he was doing in the first place, but I think it was a smart play to keep the ball back there because he actually was angling to the backcourt again, which is why I don't know why De'Aaron Fox followed him. He was running away from the basket with like 5 seconds left or whatever, 7 or 8 seconds. So that was questionable. I just want two closing thoughts to finish with. First of all, Cat needs to knock off whatever antics, gimmicks he's got going on right now. Everybody wants to point to Wemby. In my opinion, that should not have been a flagrant foul when he elbowed Cat. I think he's done much worse things in this series, including when he just threw Jalen Brunson to the ground in Game 3. The fact that that wasn't even a foul and then an accidental elbow was a flagrant. And yeah, we can point to his immaturity, but are you watching what these guys are doing to him? First of all, Cat hooks his arm every time he goes to the basket. Like that was a great challenge by Mitch Johnson on like the second play of the game where they overturned the call and gave Cat the offense foul. I don't know what is he doing. He's just like doing really stupid stuff the past two games, and Wemby's ending up getting caught in it. And a couple of the other things, like on one of the rebounds, like Jose Alvarado just grabbed his leg and like took him down, like it was like a wrestling match. Like, yeah, how are you going to respond if guys are doing that to you the whole game? Sure, maybe it's some of it's immaturity, but are you watching how they play him? I mean, they're just constantly grabbing him, and yeah, he's 7'5". You want to hit him low, but you can't just take his quad and just lift it up and so he falls. Like what are we doing? Like it's not basketball. They're making unbasketball plays to try to beat him up, which it's just frustrating to watch. It's why some of the games have looked so choppy at times and why we're constantly going to reviews. Because every time Wemby heads to the basket, there's like three Knicks just trying to like RKO him in some way. And like how do you want him to respond? Like at some point we gotta like look at the. I thought the Knicks played dirty in Game 4. I'm not gonna lie with what they were doing to Wembanyama. There's a difference between physical and dirty. The stuff that they were doing, like at no point when you're trying to play physical do you think, all right, let me just grab this guy's leg and throw him on the ground. Like that's just a dirty play. And then the other thing, you mentioned how this is unlike a 3-1 series lead. Disagree with me at home, disagree with me, Cole. If you think so, I'm just going to say I think the Spurs are the better team, but the Knicks are a team of destiny, and they are winning this finals. I don't care what happens. I think the Spurs are the better basketball team, but no one is getting in the way of this Knicks team. They are going to win the finals. I've never seen a team of destiny like this, where it just feels like everything is going right for them, and you kind of just got to sit back and watch and say, hey, this is great basketball, and these are amazing moments.
Yes, there's a touch of destiny to this team, 100%. But I do still think the Knicks are a better, like all around basketball team. They were built so perfectly. I mean, they brought the Villanova boys back together, and it has worked better than you could ever imagine. But I do think it's closer than a 3-1, 100%. However, we did both choose the Knicks. I think there's a reason for that. I don't think it was just straight off of faith.
Vibe.
So maybe the Knicks going up 3-1 has just miraculously changed your opinion somehow in a worse way for them. But anyways, I do still think the Knicks are better. I don't think it's a 3-1 lead. And when it comes to Wemby, yes, they're playing dirty. That's kind of what you can expect with Victor Wembanyama. I mean, he's a 7'4", tall, lengthy,
I mean,
skinny
he's,
dude.
he's gonna get it.
They're
He's
gonna
gonna
get
get a
low.
Shaq. He's gonna get a Shaq whistle.
Yes, 100%. And you can see it with, while he's not as skilled as him, Nikola Jokic gets the exact same treatment. You look at Nikola Jokic after every game, he's bleeding on both arms. Every game they're hitting him. The treatment that Shea gets compared to these bigger guys, it's unbelievable. And I think that's why a lot of people complain about how Shea throws his body around, because some of the other superstars in today's game, like Giannis, like Nikola Jokic, like Wemby, they don't get those calls just because they are bigger. So it is tough. However, Wemby, I'm not saying you don't get mad at what's going on. I'm saying you bring that same exact energy all game. First half, he's yelling at the Knicks guys. He's saying, "I'm in your head" to Mitchell
Yeah,
Robinson.
that was garbage. I hated that. That was garbage.
Then second half, he vanished. You couldn't find him out there. You had absolutely no idea where he was. He didn't even want to take the shots. So I'm fine with Wemby reacting like that as long as he's doing it when he's down and not only doing it when he's up. Because they say the greatest trash talkers in the world, they do it when they're losing, not only when they're winning. So I would just want to see that energy from Wemby in the full 48 minutes of the game. But yeah, the Knicks were definitely playing a choppy style, and that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like the bad boy Pistons. They
we can
didn't beat up on Michael Jordan because they liked beating up on people. They beat up
right.
on him because it was Michael Jordan.
I mean, we can expect that the rest of Wemby's career as well. But
Yes.
that'll do it for episode 4. Any last words? Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see. Maybe we will have another 2016-esque 3-1 comeback by the Spurs.
I would love to be breaking down a game 7, but that'll do it. Thanks for tuning in to episode 5 of 585 Takes Podcast, and we'll see you on episode 6.